Hello, students. Welcoming you to Module 3. First, let's recap the discussions from Module 2. The issue was labor unions. To what extent were they beneficial to society, or were they actually a threat to society? And are they a threat to society? The first document was by Samuel Gompers, who, of course, was the leader of the AFL, and certainly strongly pro-union. This is a very emotional appeal to workers to organize together to seek their human rights together by means of the labor union. And I think that Group 1, you seem to all agree that unions have been a necessary part of American culture, especially in the context of the time when Gompers was writing, and that without labor unions, we wouldn't have the workplace safety and the better working conditions that we have today. However, I thought that you very correctly brought out some of the holes in Gompers' argument, especially with relation to the introduction of machinery into the workplace. Now, this is an issue that's still around with us today. Should employers use more machinery, even if that means job loss, even if it means that workers lose their jobs as a result? And Gompers was totally against the introduction of this labor-saving machinery into the workplace. He didn't want his union members to lose their jobs, but as Stacy pointed out, how can you possibly expect a factory owner not to use a machine that's going to increase productivity by a factor of 10? It's just not realistic. So that's one flaw that you pointed out in Gompers' argument. And in general, I think you were on the money when you said that human nature being what it is, there's always a danger that the union itself is going to acquire too much power in the lives of workers. And that could become a threat. And that's the theme of the article that Group 2 had. This was by N.P. Thompson, who was a railroad tycoon from Birmingham, Alabama, testifying against unions in the first decade of the 20th century. And basically, I thought you brought out in your various posts nicely Thompson's points that not only do unions have the potential to disrupt the relationship between employers and employees, but by preaching socialistic doctrines, at times they can also diminish people's patriotism. At least that was how the capitalists saw it in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. I think you reached similar conclusions to Group 1, even though you had different documents, that labor unions were and are necessary. However, it's a bad thing when labor unions cause friction between employers and employees rather than promoting the general good of both groups. And also that there are times when the watchdog, the labor unions, needs to be watched as well, so that they don't get too power hungry and get out of control. So finally, Group 3, you had a document by Andrew Carnegie, the great steel magnate and the great philanthropist. That means someone who gave a great deal of money to charity. And indeed, the argument of his piece was that super rich people are necessary and actually a great benefit to society. First of all, because they can then give away a lot of their wealth to others. And to Carnegie's credit, he really practiced what he preached here. He, in fact, gave away nearly all of his enormous fortune, hundreds of millions of dollars, to build parks, schools, and especially libraries all over this country. So he really paved the way for wealthy philanthropists like Bill Gates or Mark Zuckerberg, who are following in his footsteps and giving away a large portion of their income today. You also brought out, I was very glad to see this, you brought out an interesting aspect of his argument where he said that wealthy people benefit society because if it weren't for wealthy people, no one would have the resources to promote art and culture in the society. That is, no one would be able to support artists to make beautiful paintings, to put them in their nice houses, basically, wealthy people raise the level of culture in the society in a way that nobody could do if there were no rich people. And you guys seem to be pretty receptive to Carnegie's arguments, provided that wealthy people set a good example for others through modest living, through charitable giving, and also by being self-made people. Not getting their money through inheritance, but getting it through hard work. And it's interesting, Carnegie, one of the reasons he gave away nearly all of his wealth was that he didn't want his children to grow up with a silver spoon in their mouths. He wanted them to make their own way in the world. And so he actually left his own children very little of his immense fortune. So, all right, all in all three groups, I thought you did a good job. As we move into Module 3, I would like to see us go a little deeper in these discussions and make better use of the discussion boards. I think they can be very useful to you. For instance, if there's something in the document you don't understand, why not just ask your group mates on the discussion board to help? And don't be embarrassed about doing that. I often have to ask my colleagues for help with historical documents that are written in old-fashioned, strange language and that I don't get. It's nothing to be embarrassed about, but it is a resource there for you, as well as an opportunity for you to really go deep into some of these issues and to debate them fully. Because, as I think you've seen so far, these issues are relevant for life today, and that's especially true of the discussions for Module 3, because we're taking up the issue of imperialism versus isolationism. Should the United States get involved in foreign countries, foreign conflicts, or should we just be isolated, mind our own business, and stay out of military conflicts overseas? And in recent years, this has been a life and death issue for many Americans. Should we have gotten involved in Iraq? Should we have gotten involved in Afghanistan? Should we get involved in Syria? So this is a real-world issue with a lot of implications for you today. And so in these documents on imperialism, I'd like for you to really go deep into the question, should the United States just mind its own business? Or should we really be a superpower and project a presence overseas in the world? And so I look forward to those discussions. Also, you are getting into your article assignment, which will be due at the end of this module. So if you have any questions about that, please let me know. This is the first step in your three-part written assignment for the summer. Finally, I asked you guys a question via email this morning. Do you want me to start appointing a chair for each group for each discussion? And I'm going to wait till I get a few more responses on that, but I'll keep you posted on that issue. So stay tuned and enjoy Module 3, and as always, feel free to contact me if I can help in any way.